What would you do if your girlfriend tried to guilt you into funding her friend's vacation using feminism as emotional blackmail? Here's exactly how I handled her entitled manipulation tactics. Hey, this is Jared. I'm not gonna lie, when Chloe first mentioned the conference, I wasn't really paying attention. She was scrolling through her laptop while we were watching Netflix, and she just casually said something about this gender equality in the digital age thing in Copenhagen. I figured it was just another one of those things she'd bookmark and forget about. But then she kept bringing it up. She'd mention how the speakers looked incredible, how it could really help her career. Chloe's always been ambitious like that. And honestly, it's one of the things I love about her. She doesn't just coast through life expecting things to happen. The thing is, in the 8 months we'd been dating, she'd never once asked me for money. Not once. She'd split dinner bills, pay for her own Ubers, even insisted on buying groceries when she stayed at my place. When we went to that expensive steakhouse for her birthday, she tried to pay half until I literally had to take her card away. That kind of financial independence is rare, and I respected the hell out of her for it. So when she finally brought up the cost, $3,800 for flights, hotel, and registration, I could see how much it was killing her to even mention it. She wasn't asking, really. She was more like thinking out loud, saying how she wished she could afford it, but her marketing salary just wasn't there yet. The way she talked about it, you could tell this conference meant everything to her. Here's the thing about having money that most people don't understand. When you've got it, $3,800 isn't rent money or grocery money. It's not even a weekend in Vegas money. It's nothing. But for someone making $40,000 a year in marketing, it's massive. It's choosing between this conference and having any kind of financial cushion for months. 8 months of her splitting everything fairly, never once hinting that I should pay more because I could afford to. 8 months of her being genuinely grateful when I did pick up a tab, not entitled about it. 8 months of watching her work late nights on campaigns, trying to build her career the hard way. Why wouldn't I invest in someone who'd proven herself like that? When I offered to cover it, the look on her face was worth every penny I'd eventually spend. Pure shock first, then this huge smile, then she actually started tearing up a little. She kept asking if I was serious, if I was sure, like she couldn't believe someone would just do that for her. That reaction told me everything I needed to know about how she saw money and relationships. We started planning it together, and she was perfect about the whole thing. She researched the cheapest flights, found a decent but not fancy hotel option, picked the basic registration package. She wasn't trying to milk it or upgrade everything just because I was paying. When I suggested we look at business class and a nicer hotel, she actually argued with me about it. Said the money was too much already, that she didn't need luxury, just the opportunity to attend. That's when I knew I'd made the right call. This wasn't about her wanting a free vacation to Europe. This was about professional development, about advancing her career. The conference had speakers from Google, Facebook, major tech companies talking about women's advancement in digital spaces. For someone in marketing trying to break into tech, this was gold. I told her we'd upgrade anyway, because why not? If you're going to invest in someone's education, might as well make sure they're comfortable while they're learning. The hotel could go from some budget chain to a nice place near the conference center. The flights could go from middle seat economy to business class. Total difference maybe another $500 or $600, which is nothing when you're already planning to spend almost $4,000. Her reaction to my upgrade suggestions was the same as her reaction to the original offer. Grateful, a little overwhelmed, asking 3 times if I was really okay with the extra cost. She kept saying she'd find a way to pay me back somehow, which was sweet but completely unnecessary. This wasn't going to be a loan, it was an investment in someone I cared about. This might have been the best moment of our relationship so far. She was so excited about the upcoming trip, so appreciative, so focused on making sure she'd get everything she could out of the experience. She researched every speaker, planned out which sessions to attend, even downloaded the conference app and mapped out the venue. This was what a partnership looked like, right? Someone working hard, someone else in a position to help, both people treating it with respect and gratitude. She'd earned this opportunity through 8 months of being the kind of person worth investing in.
Hey there, I'm Chloe. I honestly couldn't believe it when Jared said yes. I'd been staring at that conference website for weeks, knowing there was no way I could swing $3,800 without eating ramen for the next 6 months. And he just said he'd cover it, like it was nothing. The relief I felt was incredible, but also this weird guilt because I'd never asked a boyfriend for money before, you know? When I called Maya to tell her, she practically screamed. Then Jessica got on the call, then Lauren, and suddenly I'm on speaker telling my 3 best friends how my boyfriend just agreed to send me to Copenhagen for the feminism conference. They were so excited for me, saying how amazing it was that I had someone who actually supported women's advancement, not just talked about it. But then the comments started. Maya was like, "God, I wish I could afford to go to something like that." Jessica chimed in about how the conference could literally change our careers, how networking with those kinds of speakers was impossible to get otherwise. Lauren kept saying how lucky I was to have found a guy who actually puts his money where his mouth is about supporting women. At first, I felt even more grateful to Jared. My friends were right. He was different from other guys. How many men would actually invest in their girlfriend's professional development like this? But then Maya said something that stuck with me. She was like, "You know what's crazy? For him, $3,800 is literally nothing to him." And that got me thinking, was it really nothing to him? I'd been so focused on how huge this was for me that I hadn't thought about what it meant from his perspective. The guy drives a BMW, lives in a downtown penthouse. Maybe Maya was right. Maybe this wasn't the big, generous gesture I thought it was. The more my friends talked about it, the more I started seeing things differently. Jessica pointed out how he'd been so casual about upgrading my hotel and flights, like spending an extra $1,000 was just whatever. Lauren said that proved he could definitely afford more if he wanted to. They kept praising him, don't get me wrong, but there was this underlying current of possibility. Maya started bringing it up every time we hung out. How I was so lucky to have someone who supported feminist causes with actual money. How rare that was. But then she'd get this wistful look and talk about how badly she wanted to attend the same conference, how it could change everything for her marketing career too. She'd researched all the speakers, found sessions that were perfect for her specialization. The way she talked about it, you could tell it was eating her up inside. Jessica and Lauren started doing the same thing. They congratulate me again on having such a supportive boyfriend, then immediately pivot to talking about the conference. How they'd looked up all the networking events, how the speaker lineup was once in a lifetime, how attending could literally transform their careers. They weren't being subtle about it, but they weren't directly asking either. Just planting seeds. And honestly, the seeds started growing. If Jared really cared about women's advancement, wouldn't he want more women at this conference? If he truly believed in feminist causes, wouldn't this be exactly the kind of thing he'd support? My friends weren't wrong. They were all smart, ambitious women who deserve these opportunities just as much as I did. Maya started sending me articles about male allies and what real allyship looked like. Not just supporting your girlfriend, but supporting the broader movement. She'd screenshot Instagram posts about men using their privilege and wealth to lift up multiple women, not just the one they're sleeping with. It was subtle, but I got the message. The more I thought about it, the more it made sense. This wasn't really about the money for Jared. It was about his values, about proving he wasn't just another rich guy who talked a good game about equality. If he really believed what he said he believed, wouldn't he jump at the chance to send 4 women to this conference instead of just 1? Lauren pointed out that my getting to go was already proof he supported the cause. So extending that support to my friends wasn't asking for something new. It was just expanding something he'd already committed to. Jessica agreed, saying that guys with real money think bigger than just one person. They think about impact, about making a real difference. By the time I decided to ask him, I convinced myself this wasn't about money at all. This was about values, about whether he was truly committed to supporting women or just committed to supporting me. My friends had shown me what real allyship could look like, and honestly, I was excited to give him the chance to step up and be that kind of man.
The conversation started normal enough. We were having dinner in my place, and Chloe was talking about the conference coming up in a few weeks. She seemed excited, going through the speaker list again, telling me which session she was most looking forward to. I was happy listening to her talk about it. This was exactly what I'd hoped for when I offered to sponsor the trip. Then the tone shifted. She started mentioning how her friends were so inspired by what I was doing. Maya apparently called me a real ally for supporting women's education with actual money instead of just words. Jessica said she wished more men understood the importance of investing in women's professional development. Lauren kept talking about how rare it was to find a guy who truly supported feminist causes. I should have seen it coming. The setup was too perfect, the praise too targeted. But I was still thinking like someone in a normal relationship, not someone being manipulated. Chloe mentioned how Maya, Jessica, and Lauren had been talking about the conference nonstop since I'd agreed to sponsor her. They were so jealous, but also so grateful that someone like me existed. Someone like me. That should have been my first red flag. Then came the ask. She said her friends really wanted to attend the same conference, but obviously couldn't afford it. The whole thing would be about $11,400 for all three of them. Flights, hotels, registration. Since I was already supporting the cause, maybe I'd want to help them attend too. I just stared at her. Did she seriously just ask me to drop over 11 grand on her friends? People I barely knew? The audacity was so stunning I thought I'd misheard her. I told her slowly that she wanted me to pay for her friends to go to Copenhagen. She said it wasn't about paying for them. It was about supporting women's advancement. I'd said myself how important this kind of education was. Think about the impact of having 4 women at this conference instead of just one. And there it was. The manipulation wrapped in ideology. She wasn't asking for money. She was testing my commitment to feminism. She wasn't being greedy. She was giving me an opportunity to prove what kind of man I really was. I pointed out we were talking about almost 11 grand for people who weren't my girlfriend. But that was exactly the point, she said. Real allies don't just support the women they're sleeping with. She fucking said sleeping with, bro. She then said I spent more than that on business dinners in a month. How the hell did she know what I spent on business dinners? Had she been analyzing my finances? The whole thing was getting creepier by the second. She kept pressing, saying this wasn't about the money for me. I knew it wasn't. This was about whether I actually believed in what I said I believed in. I asked her to clarify if she wanted me to prove I was a feminist supporter by funding her entire friend group's European vacation. She said it wasn't a vacation, it was professional development. And yes, that's exactly what real allyship looked like. Supporting multiple women, not just the one you're dating. The entitlement was breathtaking. 8 months of splitting bills. And now she thought she could guilt me into bankrolling her social circle because I'd made the mistake of offering to sponsor her trip. I told her she was right about one thing. This conversation was definitely showing me what kind of person someone really was. Her face lit up, thinking she'd won. Then I told her straight up that just because I'd been generous didn't mean I was some desperate attention-starved simp who needed to buy women's approval by throwing money at every cause they waved in front of me. Did she really think I was going to be her personal feminist ATM? I told her to get the fuck out of my apartment. She tried to argue that she wasn't manipulating me. She was giving me a chance to be better than other wealthy guys who just talked about supporting women. I said no. She was trying to use ideology to extract money from me. There's a difference. She stared at me for a long moment. Then her expression hardened. She said I'd support one woman, but not others. And that wasn't feminism. That was just looking out for what benefited me. I told her that turning my generosity into some kind of political purity test wasn't feminism either. It was just greed with better marketing. That's when she really lost it. Started yelling about how I was just another rich asshole who didn't actually care about women's issues. How I'd proven I was only willing to invest in women when it got me something in return. How disappointed she was to learn what kind of man I really was. I let her finish, then told her the relationship was over, effective immediately. I also told her the offer to fund her trip is also withdrawn. The look on her face when she realized her manipulation had backfired completely was almost worth the 8 months I'd wasted on her.
I was so angry after he kicked me out that I could barely think straight. The nerve of that guy. acting like I was some gold digger when all I'd done was give him a chance to actually live up to his feminist values. Maya picked me up from his building, and I spent the whole drive ranting about what had just happened. By the time we got back to my apartment, Maya was practically bouncing in her seat with excitement. She said I absolutely had to expose him on social media, that guys like him only got away with their fake feminism because women stayed quiet about it. Jessica and Lauren came over within an hour, and they were all encouraging me to tell my story publicly. I fired up TikTok and started recording my first video. Just me talking about dating a wealthy guy who claimed to support women's rights but showed his true colors when asked to prove it. Maya was literally directing me from behind the camera, telling me what details to include. Tech entrepreneur, early 30s, drives a BMW, lives downtown. Lauren suggested I mention how he'd offered to pay for my conference, then lost it when I brought up helping my friends. The response was incredible. 20,000 views in a few hours, hundreds of supportive comments. Jessica was screenshotting the best responses and sending them to our group chat. Maya kept saying this was exactly what needed to happen, that I was doing a service to women everywhere by exposing this kind of man. I made another video explaining how this wasn't even about money for him. We're talking about someone who spends more on business dinners than most people make in months. But the second I asked him to extend his feminist values beyond just me, he showed who he really was. My friends were sharing every post, adding their own comments about what a disappointment he turned out to be. TikTok was eating it up, but Instagram was brutal. People calling me entitled, ungrateful, a gold digger mad her meal ticket ran out. When I showed the harsh comments to my friends, they said those people just didn't understand the situation. Maya said Instagram users were probably mostly men anyway, and of course they defend one of their own. So I kept going, posted photos of expensive restaurants we'd gone to, talked about his watch collection, his downtown loft. Jessica suggested I get more specific, so I started posting screenshots of our text conversations with his name mostly blurred out. Lauren helped me create hashtags, linking his company to fake feminism. Maya was the one who said I should post that photo of us at the charity gala where he talked about supporting women in tech. You could see his company logo in the background, and she said it was perfect evidence of his hypocrisy. My friends were cheering me on every step of the way, sharing everything, boosting my content. Then the cease and desist letter arrived. Thick envelope, law firm letterhead, demanding I stop posting and remove all content within 72 hours or face a defamation lawsuit. I was panicking, but Maya said this just proved everything I'd been saying about him. Classic rich guy move, silence women who call them out. Jessica said I should definitely make a video about the letter. Lauren agreed, saying it would show everyone what kind of person he really was. So I did exactly that, calling it bullying tactics from someone who couldn't handle accountability. My friends shared that video faster than any of the others. But when the actual lawsuit papers got served a few weeks later, something weird happened. Maya called me freaking out because her lawyer friend told her that sharing defamatory content could make her liable too. Jessica started panicking about her own posts and comments supporting my videos. Lauren immediately went through her social media and deleted everything related to my campaign. Suddenly my friends weren't enthusiastic anymore. Maya said maybe I should consider settling. Jessica mentioned that defamation law was pretty serious, and she was scared about her own exposure. Lauren said she was worried about both of us getting sued. The case dragged on for months, and my friends basically disappeared. No more strategy sessions in my apartment. No more encouraging me to post. When I asked Maya for emotional support during depositions, she said she was swamped with her own problems. Lauren stopped responding to my texts altogether. By the time the judgment came down, $150,000 in damages plus $40,000 in legal fees, I was facing it completely alone. The same friends who wanted their trips to be sponsored too, who'd encouraged every single post, who'd helped me craft the captions, who'd shared everything to boost my reach, suddenly acted like they'd never been involved. When I tried calling Maya after the court ruling, she actually said she told me from the beginning that I was going too far. Jessica claimed she'd always been worried about the legal implications. Lauren said she tried to warn me, but I wouldn't listen. Complete revisionist history from all three of them. That was a year ago, and they've completely ghosted me. 25% of my paycheck gets garnished every month, so my take-home barely covers rent. My credit score is destroyed. They repossessed my car last month. I had to move back in with my parents at 29 years old. The friends who pushed me to post everything, who helped create the hashtags, who shared every piece of content, they're all doing fine. Maya got promoted at her marketing job. Jessica moved to a better apartment. Lauren started dating some new guy. Meanwhile, I'm sleeping in my childhood bedroom while a quarter of everything I earn goes to the man who destroyed my life. The worst part isn't even the money. It's realizing that my best friends encouraged me to ruin my life, then abandoned me the moment there were consequences. They got to watch the drama unfold like it was entertainment, then walked away clean when things got real. Maya still posts feminist content on Instagram like she's some kind of activist. The irony would be funny if it wasn't destroying my future. All I did was listen to my friends and call out a fake feminist, and somehow I'm the only one paying for it.